Alright, so we're back and I've created a lot more additional lines, basically kind of outlining some of the details. I left this area alone. I want to fill that in later, and I added some holes in the back here. I offset this lining material, and I kind of finish up the lugs on the cleat shapes on the outer far side. So essentially, I kind of bounce around and work on a lot of different things at different times. So let's start in the back here. And basically, I'm just going to kind of finish up and dividing these pieces here. I just wanted to show you with the selection tool, if you kind of, start like bumping areas out, you'll start to achieve a little bit more realism. And right over here with the pen add point tool, you can add some points, use the selection tool, and then you can kind of drag your points out to however far you want. And if you think it looks good, you can go ahead and commit to that. So there's different ways to do this here. I just want this surface to kind of look like it's kind of coming out a bit and getting a little thicker out to this side. So, alright. And then what you can see here is I'm going to go and I'll show you at an offset. If you hit Apple 1, or I'll do maybe 2 millimeters and do negative, so it goes inside your shape in here. Basically, I'm trying to get this highlight edge here. I'm going to do no fill and remove my multiply. I'll cut that point. I'll cut it over here. I'll select this line, delete it, and then with the selection tool, just kind of drag that off. Drag this side off a bit. So now I've created some thickness for this like TPU part, this plastic piece here. And TPU, if you don't know, basically stands for thermoplastic polyurethane. So it's commonly used in the footwear industry, and a lot of plates are made out of TPU or P-backs, just different formulations and different types of weights and properties. So anyways, moving along here, I'm just going to copy this line, drag it down, rotate it along that point with the R tool, and then just deleting that, and just kind of tweaking the line kind of where I want it. And then these lines here that you see, this is going to be a separate piece that kind of runs underneath this clear part, and you're going to kind of see it mirroring through this plastic piece. And then the lining also splits up here, so I'll be able to color that with 2 different colors. So let's go ahead and let's start off by picking some cooler colors here that we're going to stick with. So I kind of thought if I let's do like a darker plate. Let's go with like a dark, deeper, almost like a navy color. Maybe we just go with the black. And these guys here, we'll do this in kind of like a blue color so they look like they're clear. If you hit the eyedropper tool, you'll be able to, which is right over here, you'll be able to kind of select that same color. And if you hold shift, select all these guys, some of which are locked. Let's unlock those. And you'll be able to kind of get the same color. Alright, what I did, if you can see it here, is I created these 3 little ribs, and this is kind of your main flex area in the forefoot. I'm going to hit that eyedropper and select this same. And right now it's on a multiply, and we can get rid of that multiply. Same for here. Just go normal. We'll leave the multiply for the cleats since you want those to be transparent and be able to see through those. Let's lighten this up for right now just a little bit. We'll go back to that being darker, but just for right now, that's going to be clear. And then I'm thinking about doing this in a white color, so I'll just hit it with a little bit of a gray, just so you can kind of see. And this tongue piece will be the same. Alright, so let's rotate this guy. Just a little bit. There we go. Okay. So right here, I want to divide this lining, and the best way to do that is select your shape again, select the line, and hit divide. Ungroup, and there you go. You have a lining material. Let's go with like a bright yellow for that. And same deal over here. Select those 2 lines, divide, ungroup, and eyedropper. And these right now are multiplied as well. So there we go. And right over here, these are obviously not going to be extended over there. They're going to kind of be down. We'll take care of those later. So let's work on the plate now. Just get jumping down to the plate. So let's offset. Let's start to render this just a little bit. We'll offset the shape about 1 millimeter inside, so -1 millimeter. And then I'm just going to kind of cut this top edge off here. Turn off the fill. There we go. And since I want to cut this off, I'll add the pen tool, and I'll just move this here, extend it off so I can clip this part. There we go. So now, and right here, since I want this to be a separate piece, I'd rather, instead of trimming it, I'm going to make it so it's a part on top of this plate. So I'll copy and paste in front this shape, select that at the same time with my shift tool, and then divide, ungroup. And if I select the part I want to keep, holding shift down, it'll select the rest that I can hit delete. Basically what that just did was, now I have this trim piece. And what I can do here is I can give it, start playing around with some highlights. And probably want to reduce the line weight to possibly nothing, just so it looks a little more natural. You could even change this to a lighter. Let's just do this lighter color. There we go. See, that trim piece there. It creates like a nice little highlight. Alright. So if I hit this as a multiply, let's see what's underneath here. So I kind of wanted this to be kind of bumped out just a little bit, almost like a step. So what I can do here is, if I add a few points, let's zoom in on it. If I add a point approximately here, just add a few points. And what this will let me do is, I'll be able to kind of bump certain points out, move others in. If you hold down the option button, you can kind of move like one corner of the point without altering the other point's shape. They tend to work together, so if you can just select one side of it, actually it's pretty good. Tweak those. There we go. Alright. And let's see. Put some gradients here. And just, you know, tweaking the gradients, it's kind of tricky. It takes a little bit of time to figure out the best angle, but just keep working on that. And your stroke, let's get rid of the stroke down to 2.25. Let's thin it out. There we go. Alright, let's put a little bit of gradient on this guy here. I just selected that already. Nice one there. And you can kind of see, if you do it in a couple different angles, what kind of effect you'll get. So it all depends on what kind of line you want and where you want the shading to come into. And we'll add more layers with shading that kind of come in from the heel to the toe, and we will eventually want to darken up this bottom. Alright, so we have our shapes ready, and I'll finish up these laces, take it through one quick lace shape. Let's do this one right here. So one of the tricks that I use is if you click and then kind of drag, and with your stroke, if you increase the stroke to like say 10, and then add the little curve endpoints, the round caps, you'll start to see you get these kind of lace-like shapes. So maybe go up to like 11 points, sorry. And then what you can do here is, when you have this object, let's duplicate that for later. When you have this object here, go to Object, Expand, Fill and Stroke, OK, and now you have an actual object. And what's cool about this is, let's just reverse that so we can see what we're doing here. What's nice about this is, if I want this a little bit more of a flatter lace, so I can, there's different ways to achieve that. I can take the knife tool here, kind of start dragging along to get my shape here, and then I can just select that and delete it, and then tweak the rest of this. So the knife tool actually comes in pretty handy. And then I'm kind of duplicate this, get like a little trim on the edges of the laces. cut that, cut here. And a lot of times when you expand, you have it. You definitely need to ungroup. Delete. I want to extend this past the shape surface. And here I can trim that away. Now I have like a nice little, say I want to pop this in yellow. And then just going to do the same over on this side. Cut. You can also set up your own tools for your hotkeys to whatever quick callouts you want to do. So ungroup. There we go. Just change this line weight to something a little thinner. Alright, there you start to see kind of what your lace starts to look like. So, and you can tweak these to look a little bit more real, but it's nice to have it a little bit more random since it looks more natural. If you're too precise and perfect, it just doesn't look that real. So, and another cool thing, you can just go in after and kind of add some extra, hit it with some other lines, turn that fill off. 0.25, you could even just go in here and type 0.15 and just add a couple extra lines, give it some more realism. There, and there you have a lace. Alright, so let's add some gradients to these cleat shapes here. And I'm going to start off with one of these guys, and let's click on the color gradient, drag that down, and basically you can kind of see I usually start off with the same color and then hit it dark, drag this bar, and what's cool is you can really customize with pretty precision how you want this round shape to basically be. If you hold the gradient tool there and then click and drag, you can get this cool three-dimensional shape, and by changing this you change the location of the highlight, and you just click right there and you'll add another duplicate. Let's make this one white, so you kind of see how you get that little highlight running through the center there. So you have a lot of control with this gradient tool. So that looks pretty round. So what I'm going to end up doing, the line weight's fairly thick, so let's take a look at the stroke here. And we are at 1, so let's just bring it down to 0.25. It's just way too thick. Later on we'll get the rest of these little details, but zoom out, you can kind of see how that looks pretty sweet. Let's grab these other shapes here and just do these all at the same time. Eyedropper tool and click here, and all of these get the same effect. Now notice the gradient tool, it applies the same gradient in the same direction, so you'll have to go back and individually select each one of these and modify the gradient. Let's zoom in. Modify the gradient angle if you want to get that angle right, and if your highlight's off, just go back in here, select your gradient, and just move just move those over to where you feel you want it. So just go and do these quick. And I really want to get these looking translucent, like there's some, you know, that you can see right through these. And then you really want to get those highlights at the right angle, just to give your object a realistic look. And then since these back cleats are kind of in the background on the far side of the shoe, let's go ahead and give them like a darker shadow in here. So I'm going to copy and paste on top, and I'm going to take this tool here and create like a shadow. And I'm getting the gradient. I just need to click that off. And come in here and just adjust these. I want to follow this like the contour, this cylindrical type of form here. And with that, I'll select that object that's on top. This one will divide, ungroup. I'll save this piece, delete the rest. I'll give this a 0 fill, no fill. And there you go. You kind of see, you start to create this shadowed effect. And you can go ahead and continue to do that for all these. I'll do another one here. Paste in front, select, divide, and 0 fill. I'm going to want to select both of those shapes and send it to the back. Alright, so now you can start to see, again, some a little bit better shading on that. Still some more work to do, but it's the first step. Now let's try to make this one here. Let's try to get that base. So let's duplicate that piece and cut that guy out. Send that to the back. And let's put the gradient at a different angle here. Let's actually get rid of this. And I'm going to take this guy here, give this a gradient as well, and fill that with no stroke. And the gradient for this is not going to have a highlight either. Just going to keep that pretty simple. A little darker. There we go. The light's going to be coming from this direction down and kind of hitting in here. And let's do this and go down to Object, Path, Offset, which I have set up as the hotkey as my option, my Control 1 key, Apple 1. And basically I'm going to offset, let's do -1 millimeter. Alright, that's a little too much. Let's do 0.5 millimeters. And basically what I'm trying to do here is get this to to show a little bit of thickness here, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of work and drag all these off. And you start to see how this begins to take form. The reason I'm dragging these off is, I'll show you in a second, so I'm going to copy, paste again, select that part, divide, and I want to keep the center piece and delete the rest, and then I'll send that to the back. So basically you're starting to see that this thickness of plastic that's kind of wrapping around. We can probably lock that. Maybe we just move this back up to here. Get that to like a little bit more realistic. There we go. So let's zoom out a little bit. Start to see that form. I don't like where this highlight's happening, so I'm going to go in here and just kind of slide these guys a little bit further over. And that way my highlight starts happening a little bit more to the side. Lock that layer, grab the one on the back, and just kind of do the same for that guy. And we can make this play with the transparency. Actually kind of like it a little bit darker, so we'll just leave it as is. Alright, now let's give this little shape here, this little indentation, let's give this a highlight. And basically the way to create a highlight brush is you select your ellipse tool and create a small shape here. Let's fill that with white. Right there. Fill it with white. Alright. And basically, so my shape is here, I copy, paste in front, and then I'll just scale that a little bit and then drag. And basically you can still see that one's right there. I want the highlight to be a little bit off center. And a little bit thinner. So both of these shapes are white. Now you take this back shape here, that should be on the top. So this is a white fill right here, white fill. Now go to your transparency and just slide that all the way down to 0. Now highlight both of your objects since they are white. Let's just get a rectangle shape here, and let's fill that with black so we can see what's going on. Alright, so I'll lock this. So you have your two shapes. Let's get closer. Now go over here to your blend tool right here on this toolbar, and while these are both activated, click on one of the endpoints and then click on a second time, and basically these are blended now. You can see it's indicated by this line here. They're connected together now. Double click back on your tool, change your blend option to specified steps, and right now it's only stepping in one increment, so let's do 15 increments and hit preview. Alright, so there you go. I took the outer portion and moved that to the back. So your highlights on the top, this shape's towards the back. And now you can see how this blends. Now we'll take this object, and in your brushes window here, we'll just take that guy over and drag it over. You can see I have some other brushes that I've created, some custom ones. We'll get into those later. And create new art brush. And we'll just call this white highlight. Okay. So now what you want to do is deselect anything. So click on your shape that you want to put this highlight on. Copy, paste in front. Let's take off the multiply, make sure it's at 100%. We'll fill with nothing. And then on your stroke, go down to your brush, excuse me, and click on your highlight brush. And that might be not what you want. It's a little thick. The scale in which we created this was definitely out of proportion to what the length of this form is here. So in order to change that, you can go to your stroke, and right now it's currently at 1. Let's bring that down to 0.25. Now you can see it's thinned that out dramatically. And let's just go ahead and just go 0.05 and see what that gives us. That gives us a nice little highlight. Now it's one continuous part and shape. So I'm going to hit the cut tool, C, and I want my highlight to be somewhat stronger down in this area here. So if I clip if I clip my shape approximately there, I can take this, and actually I can salvage this piece, and since I already have a dark version created, I can hit that with my shadow effect. So let's go back here, and if you don't like the direction of the hotspot, if you hit your pen tool, you can click on an endpoint and change the direction of that highlight. Now let's go back to this guy here, and I like to add some multiply effect and then drop the transparency to around 50%, even less. Sometimes it's pretty dark, and my highlight is a little bit too high. I want it to hit down here, so I'm just going to go ahead and clip this at that area there, and then I can actually, if I want to, I can go ahead and extend the highlight, and that pulls it down there. And then take this, bring them back over, and I'll probably cut this as well, and maybe increase my opacity to about 80%. And I'll make this a little bit longer as well. So there you go. You've just added a highlight and a shadow area to your cleat. Take this, we'll delete it. So now let's zoom in here. So now you're starting to get the sense of how this is kind of shaping up and getting some three-dimensional forms to it. It's pretty exciting. So I'll finish off all of these. I won't bore you with the same repetitiveness. And once I'm done that, I'll come back and we'll continue with rendering this plate.